John Hume, one of the architects of the peace process in Northern Ireland, has died at the age of 83. The former Foyle MP and co-founder of the SDLP received the Nobel Prize for his part in forging the Good Friday Peace Agreement in Northern Ireland. Among those paying tribute, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who called him a political giant, totally opposed to violence. Tony Blair described Mr Hume as a political titan, a visionary, he said, who refused to believe the future had to be the same as the past. Our Ireland correspondent Chris Page looks back at his life.
You shot them with rubber bullets and gas. The crowd was marching over there. The leaders were going to speak to you. Before we even got there, you opened fire.
John Hume stood against violence for all of his life, but he was never far from confrontation. He took on the army, the police and the IRA in his quest for a fair and peaceful Northern Ireland.
There is not a single injustice in Northern Ireland today that justifies the taking of a single human life. If I were to lead a civil rights campaign in Northern Ireland today, the major target of that campaign would be the IRA. Against what they've done.
Originally, he hadn't intended to be a politician. Mr Hume trained for the priesthood and then became a teacher. But his social conscience led him to campaign for housing and employment rights for Catholics in the 1960s. After the Troubles broke out, he and several others founded a new nationalist political force, the Social Democratic and Labour Party. As SDLP leader, Mr Hume forged links around the world with the aim of ending the conflict at home.
And the SDLP have failed to do that.
Sorry, well, that's a very fundamental point.
In the late 1980s, he began talks with the Sinn Féin leader Gerry Adams. Having a dialogue with the political wing of the IRA was a huge risk and drew much angry criticism. But Mr Hume helped to persuade Republicans to call a ceasefire. The pathway he carved out led to the Good Friday Agreement in 1998.
Today we can take a collective breath and begin to blow away, let's hope, the cobwebs of the past.
The peace deal was a defining moment for Northern Ireland and for John Hume. He was lauded as a visionary and hailed as a hero by pop stars and by presidents.
Mr. President and Mrs. Clinton, as you can see from the people of Derry, you're very, very welcome here today.
After he was awarded the Nobel Prize, Mr Hume maintained his international friendships and statesmanlike reputation. But he gradually stepped down from his elected roles at Stormont, Westminster and Brussels as his health declined. In his later years, he was always greeted with admiration when he appeared at events in his home city of Derry. Perhaps more than anyone else, John Hume was recognised as the father of the peace process.
The Nobel Peace Prize winner and former SDLP leader John Hume, who's died at the age of 83. Well, tributes have been pouring in from figures across the political spectrum. The Irish Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, said it is impossible to properly express the scale and significance of John Hume's life. He was one of the towering figures of Irish public life of the last century. His vision and tenacity saved this country. Let's go to Belfast. Our Ireland correspondent Emma Vardy is there. His legacy very much is going to be his role in that peace process.
Of course. I mean, here he is seen as a hero of the Northern Ireland peace process, always a continual advocate of peace. He was someone who hated the violence of the IRA, and he was always spelling out his belief that democracy and negotiation should be the alternative to bombs and bullets. So, of course, today tributes have poured in, tributes to him as a visionary and tributes for his great belief during some of the darkest days and his ability to overcome some of the deepest divisions here in Northern Ireland, and sometimes that was at great personal risk to himself. When he entered into those secret negotiations with Sinn Féin, then the political wing of the IRA, there was great opposition in unionist communities, but it was those delicate talks behind the scenes that helped pave the way for a ceasefire. And the former US President Bill Clinton once referred to John Hume as the Nelson Mandela of Northern Ireland. Now, of course, in later years, his health had been deteriorating, and it was this morning at his nursing home in Derry when his family released a statement to say that, sadly, he had passed away. Now, the former leader of Sinn Féin, Gerry Adams, has expressed a deep sense of personal loss at his death. The party's current leader, Mary Lynn McDonald, she said he was a towering figure and a national icon. And Boris Johnson has said that his passing is a reminder of just how far Northern Ireland has come. So, of course, he will be remembered very affectionately here today as a visionary of Northern Ireland. Many people believing that without him, the Northern Ireland peace process just couldn't have happened in the same way.